Welcome to the Otsumami Party podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Saya.
We both grew up in different countries. Where are you from, Saya?
I'm from Japan. Where are you from, Ian?
I'm from the US. In this podcast, we'll discuss fun little interesting things about vastly different cultures, daily lives living in different cities, and other fun, interesting topics.
During our time together, we invite you to grab some otsumami or finger food of your own and join us for a fun, cozy time. Enjoy!
Hi everybody, welcome back to Otsumami Party, and most importantly, welcome back to Saya, who just had an eventful trip out of the country.
Yeah, thank you. I'm back. I'm back,
Oh, yeah.
back.
You're back, man. Tell us about your trip. What's happening?
Yeah, so I guess I mentioned I was going back to Japan, like in the few episodes before this one.
Yeah.
So I had a plan going back to Japan this summer, basically to see my friends and family. So I was planning on that for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I took a PTO, I just coordinated everything with my work, private school.
Of course.
And then flew back to Japan. And I had a great time for 3 weeks.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
You got to see a lot of friends and family?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, so my flight was starting from Albuquerque, New Mexico, going to, Seattle? Probably Seattle. Somewhere in the West Coast. And then going to Incheon Airport, which is in Korea. Because I found it's kind of cheap instead of going straight to Japan. So I decided to do that. So from Incheon, from Korea to Japan, where I live in Japan or where I visit Japan is really close. So the place is called Fukuoka that I landed in. It's almost an hour away from Korea.
Oh, wow.
So, in a way, it could be even closer from there to go to Tokyo.
Okay, yeah.
So I decided to do that. So I took a different flight ticket from Korea to Japan.
Yeah.
In southern part of Japan where I'm from. So that was a plan. And then on the way back, my parents usually send me off at the airport. So if I were, flying out from Tokyo, they will be spending a night in Tokyo together with me.
Okay. Yeah.
So that we just have a small family trip,
Yeah, of course.
So I suggested to my parents, hey, I'm thinking to do this going through Korea this time. So why don't we just do the family trip to Korea?
Yeah.
On my way back to the States. And then they are cool with it. It's my first time in Korea too, as well as my mom. I think my dad has been there before, but we're excited and that's cool. So I think we had 2 nights, and I had a night flight going back to the States. So in Korea we had a fantastic days, almost 2 nights and 3 days ish.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I sent my parents off at the airport because we stayed at close hotel from the airport. And then I also put my bags away at the they have some services that they keep your bags until your flight. So I put those bags in there, and then I sent my parents off. And they went back. It's just an hour flight. So they just go really quickly, but went back to Japan safely. And then after that, I was there was some casinos and hotels by the airport.
Oh, yeah.
So there's one called Paradise City in Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard that before? So I went there because there's a free shuttle bus going between the Paradise City hotels and airport.
Okay.
So I took the bus and then went there, and then I did casino for the first time in my life, which I lost obviously, but
Sure.
I didn't come back billionaire. But
Oh, dang. Wow.
yeah. Well, anyways, so they have a lot of arts, a lot of outside art gallery as well.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of restaurants. They probably have amusement park. There's a lot of things. So I was just spending hours there until my flight going back to the States.
Yeah.
So that was around, I don't know, 6, 7-ish p.m. So I was there. I grabbed my bag from the service, and then I was on the line dropping off my baggage. And then my turn came, and then like I put my bags, and then like it was exactly 23 kilograms, which is like the maximum of the international flights.
Yeah,
and I was like, phew, you know. Good, because I don't want to deal with, you know, packing and everything again.
Sure.
So I was like doing that, and then like that was the biggest anxiety like I had at the moment. So I was like, okay, good, you know, the 23 kilograms, I pass. And I was just like waiting, and then like the lady at the counter was like, okay, let me see your passport. And I was like, just give it to her, and then she was like, okay. And then so you're going to America, right? And then so you have like ESTA, or you have other visa? And I was like, oh, I have a visa. It's in the passport. And she was looking at it. No. Do you have other things? And like I was like, what do you mean no? Like no, my visa is there. Like it's in your in the passport there.
Yeah.
And then she was like, no, it's expired.
Oh,
and I was like, no way, because I am legally in the States. And then like I had other supplemental documents that I usually need. So I was like taking those things out, and then like showed it to her, and then like she started talking to other lady who seems more familiar with those things, and then like I'm like, well, that's not well, okay, let me see what we can do. And then they just like started talking, and then like started calling and stuff. And then she said, well, unfortunately, you cannot go through the immigration with this because this is supplemental documents. I believe like you have legally permitted to go to the United States, but like your visa itself is expired, so you can't do it. And I called to the immigration of the US government, and then they said no. So I mean, like you could technically fly out with us, but like you won't be able to get through. And I was like, oh my freaking God.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. And I was like, okay, let's see what I can do from now.
Right.
I was like, I don't know what to do. But I just grabbed everything, all of my bags, and then like get everything back with my passport and like documents and stuff. And then like she was really nice. She was like, I'm so sorry, but you know, you shouldn't fly.
Yeah.
And then like I agreed to her, because like it would be suck if I like fly over like 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then like immediately need to go back again. Or
that
I
would
don't know
be
how
horrible.
I know. So I was like, no, like you're fantastic, you know, you're great, and thank you. And then like I just started like, okay, I need to sit down and think.
Yeah, of course. I don't know how you did that, because I would be like immediately freaking out, like to that person's face. I would be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Like, how did you maintain your composure?
I mean, like, I was just like so shocked. I was like, oh shit, you know. So I just called my parents.
Yeah.
And because, okay, so like the thing is, I have a cell phone. I mean, like I have a smartphone, obviously, but I didn't have the cell service because I was outside of the States.
Yeah.
And I was using Wi-Fi while I was in Japan and Korea. So like I had a Wi-Fi portal. So I only was able to call through the app, like Line, WhatsApp, Messenger, those things. So that was the option. So I couldn't call to any like embassy, like US embassy, Japanese embassy, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was one of the issues, because I was talking to that lady that helped at the counter. She was like, well, maybe you want to call to the American embassy and see what you can do. But she was also like, well, but it's Friday and it's nice, so probably they won't be opening until Monday.
Oh, that's horrible. Like, that's so scary.
I know. I was like, yeah, you're right. And then like, do you know if there's any like phone that I can use? Because like I only have the Wi-Fi, meaning I can't call, you know. Also, I needed to cancel the flight. Or I mean, like I technically didn't cancel the flight. I just let it go because I got the cheapest one and I couldn't do anything with that. Yeah. So I technically just abandon that flight. But like I also needed to going back to Japan or staying the hotel in Korea. So anyways, I talked to my dad first, and then they were back in my hometown station, I think, after the flight. They took a train to going back to their house, and then they're like getting some food, and then like they just like happened to meet their old friends. They were just talking, I think my mom's friend technically, and then they were talking, and then my dad got a call from me, and then I was like, okay, I have some trouble. Like, I'm in trouble now. And he was like, okay, what's going on? And like, well, so my visa was expired, and then like, I can't fly out. And he was like, oh, okay. What are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. It was like, well, he's not familiar with those things, obviously. And then like, I was like, and then he was like, but you should call the embassy, or like, because you were in Korea, maybe you could talk to like Japanese embassy too.
Oh yeah, okay.
For the help, to ask for help. But, and then like I don't have a cell, so I need to, like use some app or email. That's my only options. And he was like, okay, well, let's see what I can do here, like to research and stuff. And you could also look into the hotel, and you probably need to spend a night there at least, and you should come back to Japan for now. So that's like, yeah, probably not the best case, because I need to, renew my visa.
So did you get a hotel or something, or did you stay in the airport?
I end up in the airport because there's no hotel. Well, my dad believed there should be a capsule hotel.
Yeah.
Because it's in the airport.
Right.
And I talked to one of the information center person, but she was like, well, there is a capsule hotel like across the street. The street is like a big road because, like the road in front of the airport has like many lanes and different like roads and stuff, because they have like different kinds of like drop off and everything. So like it's not across the street technically,
Right,
like it's
right.
kind of
It's a
far
huge
away
trek.
to walk down. And then like, well, the capsule hotel is usually like, sold out like a few months before. So
few months?
I know, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So like you probably won't be able to get a room unless you're super duper lucky. That's kind of thing. And I was like, shoot. But it was already like 8-9 p.m.-ish. So I was like, whatever. I just need a flight to go back to Japan.
Yeah.
And then I was just looking at it, and there was no flight on that night any longer. And I found another ticket like in the morning next day. And then at the same time, my dad was helping me to find a ticket as well, but I found a cheaper one. And that was like, well, like he's like retired almost. He's like not super familiar with like smartphones and app and everything. So like he's very nice and helping me, but I did like better search.
Yeah, right.
So, and I really appreciate that like I had a place to stay in Japan with my parents, but like in that way, like he was no help. But
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I found a ticket, and then like I told my dad, and then like, hey, like I just sent you the link, so like can you check on that just in case, because I feel like I'm so in a shock, and then like I may have like seen the different numbers, like I thought like it's a $400, which is like cheapest at the moment, the next day flight in 12 hours kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like $400 is not super cheap, but like it's
but for a next day
option.
Flight, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's international anyways. So, and then like he also said, yeah, right, like it's $400-ish. So I think you're right. And I guess then I'm gonna just book it. And then I booked it, and then went back to the baggage keeping service again. And I put my bags there for a night because I don't want to sleep with them, because I felt like I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I put those back, and then I had like a little, essentials with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was nothing else I can do other than wait for the next flight.
Yeah.
Because, the embassy is closed because it's Friday night. I already booked my flights. There's no hotels around me. There's nothing to do. So I was like, okay. I told my parents, okay, I'm going to just find a place to sleep today. And then you guys should sleep too. Sorry to bother you guys at the end of the trip, but thank you and good night. And then I just turn it off and then put my Wi-Fi back there, and then I just used the airport Wi-Fi afterwards.
Yeah.
And then I started wandering around the airport to see where is the best place to sleep. My dad also searched for me that there is a napping space in the airport. Mm-hmm. But that space was actually after the security.
Oh, I see.
So you need to drop your bags and go through the security and everything. So that wasn't the option. And then I just found out there's a few, foreigners around there standing, 3 of them. They were talking where to sleep. And I assume they're in the same probably not the same situation
but a similar.
I don't think their visa was an issue, but they were also spending a night there, and just looking around and kind of listening to what they're talking, but they seem just thinking to spend it all day just talking or all night talking, or just sit down on the bench. And then I found a bench in that terminal, I think it's Terminal 2 on the Incheon airport, was huge. It's pretty big, as if it's set up as your bed.
It's like a wooden bed, right?
Yeah, it's wooden, but it's really big. And then I found a place that is really connected to the charging spot as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Seemed like it was welcoming you.
So I decided, okay, that bench is my nest tonight. And I started accommodating there a little bit and put my charger there. And then luckily I had a pillow for the flight. I usually don't use it if it's a domestic flight, but if it's international, I try to use. So that became my pillow. And then I put other things in my bag, and then put the back and my pillow, and then I slept on that. And then I put my charger onto my phone, and I put my phone just on my chest so that I wouldn't lose or somebody steal or anything, nothing like that could happen. Yeah, and then I just spent a night, just slept through. Wow. Basically.
What a trip. That's crazy. Because all of that happened within less than 24 hours.
Yeah, less than 24 hours. It was 5-6 hours, I think, in total.
I think I would die. I'm surprised you're still alive here.
Yeah.
Other than that, did you have a good trip though? Did you like Korea?
Yeah, it was great. Korea was great. I had some few food that I wanted to try during the trip. And one of the things that I missed during the trip was the kimbap.
Oh, okay.
Do you know kimbap? It's a not sushi roll, but it's a rice roll.
Yeah.
That has different kind of things in it. It could be bulgogi kind of thing, or it could be tuna, those things, right? But because I spent a night there and I woke up early, I was able to get to the convenience store there in the morning before my flight. So I got the kimbap. They're convenience store, as Japanese convenience store has onigiri, rice bowls and all kinds. They have kimbap.
Whoa.
Of all kinds. Yeah.
My freshman roommate in college was Korean.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So when I visited his house in our hometown, because he and I went to high school together.
Yeah.
When I visited his family, they made me that.
Oh, that's cool.
It was very nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to try the kimbap too. And that's completed basically the whole my food list that I wanted to try in Korea. Yeah, so that was good. And then you don't need the visa as a Japanese, at least, to going back to Japan, obviously, because I'm Japanese.
Right.
So
That's how you were able to get there in the first place.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, your visa's expired? Yeah. See ya. Have a good trip.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was able to go back. And then my parents came and picked me up at the airport. And my mom was like super worried the whole, night, like since it happened. And I talked to her and then like she was like, oh no, like I'm so sorry that I couldn't do anything. I can't do anything to help, but I'm cheering up for you. And then like I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll do my best, And they were worried, but like I just send them the picture of kimbap. Hey, I'm eating this.
And then they're like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah. They're like, okay, you're fine. Like, she's fine. I think like they felt like I would be like crying overnight or whatever.
Right.
But it was okay. And
good.
Yeah, I went back to Japan and reapplied to US visa.
How long did it take for that to happen, to get your visa renewed and then come back?
So, like, I think it took me 10 days or something.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was. I really appreciate all the people in the embassy. I was like freaking out because we both were invited to a wedding to my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, which was like scheduled like 2 weeks later when it happened. So yeah, I was super worried that I may not be able to be there for her. So I came back to Japan on Saturday and then I couldn't talk to embassy at all the whole weekend. And then I talked to them on Monday, like 8 a.m. sharp. I called them whenever they open. Like right after they opened. And then like I talked to them and then like they told me you need to renew, meaning like you need to reapply.
Oh gosh.
And then like, oh gosh. But I started the process immediately after, and that means I needed to take my pictures to apply. So the visa is something like passport, so like you need a photo of yourself.
Yeah.
So that took me a little while too, but I completed everything and then gathered all of the things that I need to apply by the end of Monday. And then I checked everything on Monday night. And then I applied on Tuesday. And yeah, I think it came back on Saturday or something.
That's so fast.
I know, it was so crazy. I was so worried because it's usually
2 weeks, right?
It's been said like 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think my visa was like, like I was allowed to be there and the visa itself just expired, but it's basically renewing everything and all of my information hasn't changed. So I think that became like faster route.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you're able to do that.
Yeah. Like I was just like, I wish I had some friends who works for US embassy or like who has like a superpower.
Yeah.
Powerful like politician or whatever.
Well, I gotta say, we are all very happy you're back. And
Thank
that
you.
we are very happy that we can continue Otsumami Party. And that you're able to continue your life in the States.
Yeah, it's been great to be back.
Thank you for sharing that. And
thank you.
I think we should move on to the word of the day.
Right. Let's do that. Okay, so the word of the day today is tsundoku.
Tsundoku, okay.
Tsundoku.
Tsundoku.
Yeah. So I think it would make sense more if you know the kanji, but it's literally means piling up readings.
Story of my life.
Yeah, so like, people or like me, sometimes like buy a book at the bookstore and then like, oh, this looks great. Or like, this seems very interesting. I want to read this. And then like you buy a bunch of books and then you just put in a shelf or even just like on the floor and then piling up. and then you never start reading it because you feel like satisfied buying it.
I think I have that tsundoku on my bookshelf.
Yep.
I have so many music books that are like 800, 1,000 pages long. I also have some fantasy books that I've read a lot of them, but not all of them. And I like my bookshelf so much that I keep on buying really pretty versions of the book, and I never read them.
Yeah. So that's definitely tsundoku books.
I mean, I do have intention on reading them.
Yeah, that's a thing. Everybody has the intention to read.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, like, mine in the same way too. And especially like if you do some research on something.
Oh,
like you need to buy. But I feel like because it's a novel or anything, it's not a novel or story typically. I feel like like you just research and then like read a few pages or like few chapters and then like that's it. Like, I mean, like that book is done kind of thing.
I did that while I was doing my thesis.
Yeah, right.
I bought this book. It was a signed copy
of
the history of whatever I was researching, and I didn't use it at all.
So yeah, those things happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think this words proves that it's not only you. There's a bunch of Japanese at least, because we created a word for that.
It's Ian and all of Japanese people.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's tsundoku.
Tsundoku. I love that word. Thank you for sharing that. My word is quite useless, but a lot of fun. I think you would like it.
Okay.
It's called weenus.
Weenus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds naughty, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's not. I promise you.
Cool.
It's this right here. The skin right here on the
Really?
elbow. Yeah.
Is that called weenus?
It is. The loose skin on the elbow when you straighten out your arm, that's called weenus.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite part to touch of my grandma and my dad growing up. I didn't even know there was a name for that. That's fantastic.
You can teach it to them. Say weenus.
Yeah, weenus. Like, have you touched to those? Like, especially like who is like kind of skinny.
Yeah.
Like their weenus extends kind of. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
so long.
Yeah, it's in a way like it's rich because their skin is like soft and like long or extends. Yeah. Ian has been showing his one on Zoom.
Yeah, I've been showing my weenus.
Yeah.
It sounds so gross, but yes.
Wow. That's amazing to know.
That's the best word I think for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Saya has this fascination with loose skin or like really cozy touching areas of people's arms and ears and
right. Well, what else? Yeah, the weenus and ears, right?
Yeah, weenus and earlobes.
Yeah,
so I see her, I saw young pictures of her touching her mom's earlobe.
Yeah, and grandma's.
Yeah.
Dad and everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Yeah, that was my thing when I was a kid,
So when I was in elementary school, it was quite popular to go up to your friends and touch their elbow and say, I touched your weenus, because no one would know what it was. And then they would be like, ew, what? No. It's like, wow, no, it's just your elbow. But I used to think it was we mus. So I'd say, I touched your weenus. But it's WEENUS, not M. N as in Nancy.
How did you know that word?
Oh, it was so popular. Like somebody told me, somebody told somebody who 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 told me. And, it's just like viral at the school.
I see. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Because it sounds like a naughty word.
Right. So, yeah.
Of course, young
kids
boys.
Like that. Yeah,
right. Of course. Thank you for your word, and I hope you can utilize my word.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, yes.
Well, we should move to the topic for today.
Sounds good.
I think you will find today's topic quite relevant
Two?
to this week.
Okay.
So, there was an ancient Celtic tradition called Samhain, or Samhain, Samhain. It seems to be several pronunciations, which was marked as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire festivals in Celtic tradition. It took place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice, and during this time, preparing for the tradition, hearth fires in family homes were left to burn out while the harvest was gathered. Okay. And, all of this was in preparation for the winter, which back in, 2,000 years ago was enough to kill off whole populations, right? So after the harvest was complete, people joined with druid priests to light a community fire using a contraption that consisted of a wheel that would create sparks to start the flames of the fire. The wheel was used as it was a representation of the sun and was a key point of celebration and prayer. And during the ceremony, cattle were sacrificed and participants took flames from the bonfire back to their homes for the hearth. So this was all a pagan tradition.
What's pagan?
It's used to mean a religion that, or a belief that deviates from the main religions. So if you are pagan, you don't believe in religion, or you worship more than one god. In this case, it's worship more than one god.
Okay.
Okay. So, primary sources from 2,000 years ago or so mark Samhain as a mandatory celebration which lasted 3 days and 3 nights. Locals were required to show themselves to local kings or chieftains, and failure to participate was believed to result in punishment from the gods, usually by illness or death. There was also a military aspect to Samhain in Ireland, where holiday thrones were prepared for military commanders, and anyone who used their weapons during this time were sentenced to death.
Wow.
So it seemed like, a lot of death and a lot of, But it was widely popular. People celebrated it all over. So the most important aspect to this, some primary sources mention 6 days of drinking alcohol to excess, typically mead or beer, and accounts of massive feasts. So that's why it's most important, because that sounds like my kind of party. Especially the feast part. So during Samhain, Celts believed that the barrier between worlds was blurred. So like the afterlife and our life were combined, basically. So they prepared offerings that they left outside villages and fields for beings such as fairies, or as they call them, shees. It's spelled S-I-D-H-S, but it's pronounced she. She, in Irish folklore, is specifically a hill or a mound under which fairies live. The phrase, aus she, or the plural she spelled with S-I-D-H-E with the E at the end on its own, can denote fairy folk collectively, according to Britannica.com. Okay? So it was, little flying beings. It was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time as well. So Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that the ancestors would not be kidnapped by the fairies. Okay? Fairies in most lore are not the pretty wish-granting beings that Disney has people to believe, though. So it's not like, it's not like Peter Pan or anything. They are typically portrayed as troublesome and undesirable beings that will trick you or cause you lots of trouble if encountered. So they're not a good thing, and in this case, they would kidnap souls and take them to the Fey realm, basically. Other monsters associated with the celebration include a shape-shifting creature called a puka that receives harvest offerings from the field, and a headless woman dressed in white who chases night wanderers while accompanied by a black pig called the Lady Gwyn. Just a fair warning, there are a few words here that I could not find pronunciation for, so please forgive me if I do not pronounce these correctly. The Dullahan, D-U-L-L-A-H-A-N, are another creature associated with Samhain that sometimes appears as impish creatures or as headless men on horses who carried their heads and rode red-eyed or fire-eyed horses. So seeing one of these was a death omen to people who saw them.
Wow. It's like a basilisk.
Yeah. It's like a basilisk, except for these would not cause the death. It was more like if you saw these, you would die.
Sure.
Yeah, right. It's like the angel of death, basically. At least from my understanding. Other creatures said to haunt Samhain include a group of hunters known as Slough, Sluagh, might also haunt the location, coming from the west to enter houses and steal souls. There are lots of myths of Samhain, including one called the Second Battle of Magtarid. Again, I couldn't find pronunciation for that, which tells the story of the battle between Celtic gods, known as the Tuatha de Danann, and evil oppressors known as the Fomor, which took place over the course of Samhain. Another story is a story called The Adventures of Nera, in which a hero named Nera encounters a corpse and fairies and enters into the other world. The legend of Samhain has also etched its way into other Celtic mythological legends of hero, including Finn MacCool. So if you look up Finn MacCool, you'll get a few stories, actually. And Samhain is a prominent topic found in those stories. Now, fast forward a while, in the Middle Ages, the fire festivals evolved. The bonfires, known as Semnagans, which were more personal Samhain fires nearer the farms, became tradition in order to protect families from fairies and witches. Carved turnips began to appear, attached by strings to sticks and embedded with coal. Later, Irish tradition switched from turnips to pumpkins and became known as jack-o'-lanterns.
Ooh.
In Wales, men tossed burning wood at each other in violent games and set off fireworks. And in northern England, men paraded with noisemakers. So what I'm gathering from this is a very similar vibe to the Obon festival in Japan.
Yeah. And like the Day of the Death?
Yeah, Day of the Dead. So it wasn't like Halloween that we know today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get into how it became the Halloween that we know today. Okay? So the tradition of dumb supper became a thing, and this tradition was where food was consumed by celebrants, but only after inviting ancestors to join in, giving the families a chance to interact with spirits until they left. Children would play games to entertain the dead, while adults would update the dead on the past year's news. That night, doors and windows might be left open for the dead to come in and eat cakes that had been left out for them. That's what really reminded me of the Obon festival. You know, the food and like guiding the dead and entertaining the dead, allowing them into the homes, you know. So Samhain was mainly a way to lead them into the new year, which they celebrated on November 1st, which is basically the start of winter.
Yeah.
Now, let's fast forward a few hundred years. And let's move on over the Atlantic Ocean into America. So in America, Halloween was extremely limited when it started due to the tension between pagan and Protestant, so Christian belief. But Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies for some reason that I could not find. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and American Indians emerge, however, I do not know if they mean indigenous folk of America or actually Indians from India, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. Play parties began to emerge, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortune, dance, and sing. Trick-or-treating borrows from European traditions as Americans began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that evolved into trick-or-treat tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirrors. There was a move in the late 1800s to turn Halloween into a more community-based holiday, focused around get-togethers and neighborly activities, rather than the previous macabre subjects. Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day, beginning around the year 1900. People were encouraged during this time to take any of the macabre subject matter out of the Halloween celebrations, probably due to religious influence. This caused Halloween to lose most of its superstitious and religious overtones. Now, Ghosts and other figures of Halloween are returning to its macabre roots by depicting as more fearsome and malevolent. The idea of crossing paths with black cats bringing bad luck stems from the Middle Ages, when many people believed that witches avoided detection by turning themselves into black cats. We try not to walk under ladders for the same reason, possibly stemming from the ancient Egyptians who believed that triangles were sacred. Other superstitions include breaking mirrors, stepping on cracks in the road, or spilling salt, all which bring bad luck. So that's kind of a fun overview of Halloween. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah,
I knew Halloween was pagan, but I did not know anything about how it started or the Samhain tradition or bonfires. I'm very happy to know that ghosts and spirits and the dead and, that kind of subject matter remains as part of Halloween today. Although it's much scarier now because the focus of Halloween is to scare people, not to have a religious overtone.
Right.
Or, it's to have fun. So some people stick to the, 1900s turn of the century American tradition of making it a family thing, whereas other people, like me, try to make it as scary as possible. So, I'm curious, what are some of your Halloween traditions from when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a kid, Halloween was a thing, but it's not a big thing in Japan, I think. I mean, we all know the Halloween, but compared to Christmas in Japan, it's not a big thing. Christmas is a popular event all over Japan, kind of. It's a typical thing, even though many Japanese are not Christian. We just don't take it as much as a religious thing.
Well, what I find really interesting is that a lot of the holidays that we celebrate today as religious things stem from pagan holidays. So Christmas on December 25th is a pagan tradition, along with the tree and the ornaments and all that. That's all pagan.
Okay.
Same with Easter.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's also a pagan thing that has been taken over by Christian religion.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting then.
That's probably why you celebrate Christmas, even though it's not for Christian purpose.
Okay, that makes sense actually. But yeah. Well, so Halloween is not a big thing, but I remember my mom was trying to do some fun thing for me since I was really into crafting and stuff when I was a kid, and creating stuff. And so I've made a jack-o'-lantern with my mom, even though the pumpkin that we usually have is it's not as orange. It's more a green outside. That's more typical Japanese pumpkin. So she got us me and for her, I guess, a little pumpkin. And then we carved and we have some pumpkin menu on that day because you needed to use inside, I guess.
In Japan, eating pumpkin is quite popular.
Oh yeah,
but here, at least in my life, I have not eaten a pumpkin.
Oh.
We eat the seeds from the jack-o'-lantern, but we don't eat the pumpkin. And I remember you and I once went shopping in Oregon. We found a green pumpkin, and we made pumpkin soup, or roasted pumpkin or something like that. And it was really delicious. It tasted exactly what I expected a pumpkin to taste like.
Well, you guys have pumpkin spice latte and pumpkin syrup, that kind of thing a lot.
Yeah, that more captures the essence of a sweet pumpkin rather than actually eating a pumpkin, though.
True.
I've never. Well, I mean, I guess I've had pumpkin soup or something like that, or pumpkin pie, but I've never eaten a straight up pumpkin or straight up real unmashed, unmixed parts of a pumpkin.
That's actually interesting. Yeah, it's just so common. One of the common vegetable in Japan, so I didn't think of that way. But yeah. I think nowadays in Japan, in Tokyo, Shibuya, the Halloween has been a big thing. So Shibuya is one of the center city of Tokyo. It's like more like a pop culture kind of thing. And then like, I think that's the big scramble crossing in Tokyo, the famous one.
Oh, like the street crossing.
Street crossing, yeah.
Yeah.
Going to all directions.
Yeah.
So like those area is like Shibuya, but the people, like young people, goes there with their costume, and then like that area is just like overpopulated already, but like it's became like crazy busy when it's the Halloween. And yeah, so like it's always on the news on the Halloween days.
Yeah.
So I think like it's very different like than like in Tokyo versus like countryside in Japan. And I've never done like trick or treating. It could be like something you could do at the school maybe.
Yeah.
Nowadays, but
yeah.
I've never been to like neighborhood and then like doing the Halloween, like getting a trick or treat and then
that sort of thing's becoming much less common nowadays.
Oh, really? I think like in my neighborhood, last year I was at my friend's house and there was like a lot of trick-or-treaters.
Oh, good. I'm glad to know that the tradition is still continuing. I mean, like in Oklahoma, when I was a kid, it was like the biggest event. Like you would see kids, you'd see, families just walk up and down those streets. It would be packed. And then as I got older, it got less and less packed. And then now, living in Philadelphia, I mean, I don't know if it's a big city thing or whatnot, but I do see a few, but I don't see a lot.
Well, like it's not packed, but like, there's like a few core times that like people comes and goes and
it could also be because I've been living in an apartment.
That's so true.
Like you don't experience a lot of that.
I know, so like it has to be like residential area close to the schools,
right?
So that like kids are actually living, but.
And also, did you ever have well, I guess you said that you've never been trick-or-treating, but did you know that you can only trick-or-treat at houses that leave their front porch light on?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you see a house without the front porch, don't go there. But if you see a house with the front porch light on, then it's welcome. Yeah, you're welcome to go there.
That's interesting.
It's like universal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That way you're not randomly knocking on houses.
Yeah.
I have a funny story from when I was a kid.
What? I want to hear that.
So, little Ian was kind of a doofus, right?
Okay.
And I was incredibly scared of stranger danger and getting poisoned with candy. There was a thing going around where like if you see holes in your candy or like alterations, like don't eat it.
That makes sense, but
yeah, and there are some people who are like, well, there might be razors in some of the chocolate, and like, you don't want to cut your mouth or get harmed or whatever. So there was one time that I walked up to. So I lived in a trailer park growing up.
Yeah,
and I walked up to this trailer that had the light, the front porch light on. And these were trailer homes, so they were big, they were like, they looked like houses, but they were mobile. So the front porch light was on, and we walked up, and the guy opened the door, and he was like, "Oh, you want candy?" He sounded very rough, and his house smelled like cigarettes, and, it looked a little run down. And so he gave us good candy, and I started eating it.
Yeah.
As I'm walking to the car, and I was like, "Dad, I think this candy is poison." And my dad goes, "Then why are you eating it, Ian?" And I said, "Because it's candy."
Oh my gosh.
Of course you eat it. It's candy. So there's a joke going on that ghostly Ian, after he dies, says through the veil of death, "Because it was candy."
That's funny.
Yeah, so. Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Are you going to wear any costumes this Halloween?
No, actually. So what I'm going to do, since Halloween is on a Thursday.
Oh, yeah, right.
I work until 8 p.m.
Okay.
And then after 8 p.m., I'm going to meet up with my friends. And we're going to a haunted restaurant.
Ooh.
They're going to bring some ghost hunting equipment. And we're going to see if we can get anything to activate. And then if we can't do that, we're going to go to some old battlefield because, in Pennsylvania and Delaware, this is the oldest part of the country, you know?
Right.
And so we're going to go to some kind of like battlefield or like some kind of haunted location out in the wilderness or whatever. And see if we can get some activity. Like we don't know if we believe, but it's kind of fun on Halloween to do that.
Okay.
You're
Cool.
judging me really hard. I know.
No,
and the listeners are going to stop listening.
My thing. I don't do the ghost hunting.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of fun for me.
Yeah.
I like being scared for some reason.
But you are so scared.
I hate after I get scared, but I love it when I'm getting scared.
Jeez.
I know. Like, I hate the aftermath where I'm, like, trying to go to sleep and I can't sleep because I'm scared.
Yeah.
But I get excited.
That's why you don't do it. Gosh.
It's kind of adrenaline,
Oh my gosh. You're gonna keep talking about it like a few weeks and months, and we probably gonna hear the ghost hunting stories from me and like the next couple episodes probably.
Oh, we should say that we are moving to a 2-week.
That every 2 weeks.
2-week model. Yeah, we're releasing episodes every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that we can focus on better quality episodes.
Yep.
So, well, thank you. And I think we should go to bed now.
Yeah, before you start getting scared.
Hey, don't do that to me, man. No, it's late for me, and it's not as late, but it's still getting late for you, too. So we should get off. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please follow us on your platform of choice, give us a rating, and email us at otsumamiparty@gmail.com and tell us what you're doing for Halloween. Are you dressing up? Are you going trick-or-treating? What you doing? We'd like to hear. So please reach out, and we will read some of them next time if we get any emails.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to our podcast. We get our publicity mainly from word of mouth, so make sure to tell your friends about us. If you have something you would like us to talk about, or just want to say hi, you can send an email to otsumamiparty@gmail.com. That is otsumamiparty@gmail.com. And please sign the email with the unique username.
Please let us know what you think of the podcast and where you are tuning in from as well, and we may mention it in our next episode. Tune in next week. See ya.